Your hustle is your castle. And guess what? You can't rent a moat. If you can buy it and fill it with crocodiles, anyone can buy it and fill it with crocodiles. Welcome to week 4, day 26 of starting your side hustle. We're taking 28 days, 28 small steps to build a business that's meaningful, impactful, profitable. This week's goal is scalability. So we're going to talk about data strategy, specifically something called data moats. It's a fancy way of saying your data is important and make sure it's unique. And I never use jargon without explaining it. The actual technical definition of a data moat is like a moat around a castle. It's just useful data that you have that your competitors don't. They can't get into your castle because you have a data moat. Okay. Our real life example today is Katrina Lake. I'll put her up here, founder of Stitch Fix. Katrina's idea was simple, personalized clothing recommendations. But what set Stitch Fix apart was its data moat. She didn't call it that. That's what I'm calling it. From day one, Katrina focused on collecting unique data from customer style quizzes, purchase histories, from feedback. As competitors tried to copy the model, Stitch Fix's proprietary data set and predictive algos made their recommendations smarter and more personalized over time. The data moat became the company's biggest competitive advantage, helping it IPO back in 2017. It's that simple. So, the two questions for today. 1, what unique behavioral data are you collecting that competitors can't replicate? And 2, in all your data, what best predicts customer lifetime value 6 months out? Let's break down why these questions matter. Most people obsess over big data, but real power doesn't come from big, it comes from unique. And the best kind of unique is data that signals behaviors that only you can see because of how your product or service is used, because of who your customers are, because of the workflows that you're embedded in. Everyone can buy the same data, the same mailing list, the same industry context. And you shouldn't, by the way, with those examples, because spamming kills trust. See, last week. The point, though, is that if you can buy data, it's not a moat. If you can scrape data from someplace on the web, it's not a moat. Everyone can scrape the same public data. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. It's just not a moat. It's not a competitive differentiator. If you want a moat, you should always be thinking about how to collect data that's specific to your users' habits, their preferences, the outcomes of your experience. So question number 1 is about not falling for the myth that more data is always better. The real gold is not more, but different. Question 2. Most founders think their moat is their code, their brand, or even their first mover status, but those fade. You're going to want a compounding advantage, the kind of data that gets more valuable as you grow, because more users means better predictions, smarter features, and tighter feedback loops. Most companies stop at we have data because they think they'll eventually use it, especially in healthcare, by the way. It's wicked. Smart hustling is using it today, not saving it for later, thinking, someday we'll monetize. It's about asking, how does every new customer make our product better for the next one, or for the ones that already are on the platform? That's the secret to defensibility, to growth, to data strategy. Okay, take a moment and try to answer day 26 questions for your hustle without AI before you listen to the next section, the 28-day Ivy League MBA. I personally think it's useful to try to answer the questions without AI first, but if you'd rather do that, the AI teaching assistant prompt will drop with today's case study in a couple hours. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Lunch Break Millionaire Day 0 or go over to superserious.com where I'm posting daily transcripts. The AI prompts are there too. That's it. Hustle smarter. Day 26, part 2 of Lunch Break Millionaire, where we turn whatever you're eating for lunch into an Ivy League MBA degree. It's tacos every day now. You know, my favorite lunch of the week has gone ubiquitous, one of my favorite words. And the MBA skill we're going to pick up today is how to build your business around data strategy from day 1, or in this case, day 26. And I'm not just talking to the viewers who are techies building out techie stuff. I'm talking to everyone, even if your hustle is like baking. If you want your hustle to last, you can't treat data as an afterthought. You have to bake data into your business from the get-go. Pun intended, I guess. That means you're intentionally making every decision about what data to gather, what data to store, what data to use, And you're always thinking about using that data to outmaneuver competitors. You don't care or shouldn't care about having the most, because it's all about having the right data, the kind that actually gives you insight, gives you an edge. Think about Katrina Lake, who we just talked about in the last segment, the founder of Stitch Fix. She launched with a way to make customer data the core of her business. She used quizzes, feedback loops to build a moat that competitors couldn't cross. So how do you do it? Well, you could use quizzes. I'm not suggesting that's crazy, but start by asking yourself one question. What unique data can you collect that no one else can? Maybe it's behavioral data from how users interact with your product. Maybe it's detailed feedback from onboarding surveys or patterns in how people use your service over time. The question is to make data collection part of your product or service thinking. And don't just hoard data. Decide early on how you're going to use it. Are you looking for signals that predict who becomes a loyal customer? Are you tracking which features drive the most engagement? Or are you using data to personalize experiences or spot new market opportunities before anyone else? Tie it all back to today's questions. When you ask yourself, what unique behavioral data are you collecting that competitors can't replicate? You're really designing your moat. You're figuring out your data strategy, figuring out what insights only you will have and how you'll protect and grow that advantage as your hustle grows. And when you ask yourself the second question, which leading indicators predict customer lifetime value 6 months out, you're thinking like a strategist with an Ivy League MBA. You're building systems, processes, all so that you can spot tomorrow's winners today. So you can double down on what works and fix what doesn't before it's too late. Take a sec, map out your thinking on data and data strategy. Think about your moat. What's the one piece of data that you could start collecting right now that would be hard for competitors to copy? How will you make sure your data is clean, organized, useful? And what's one way you could use that data to make smarter decisions today, to deliver on better experiences for your customers today? If you're not sure, look at your best customer. What did they do early on that others didn't? That's your starting point. Keep telling yourself that hustlers who win move fast, they move smart, with data as their compass. Build your business around data strategy from the start, and you're building a moat that gets deeper every day. That's how you hustle smarter. This is day 26, part 3 of Lunch Break Millionaire. This is the segment where we #build in public, where I answer the daily questions every hustle should using the MBA skills we just learned and showing my work, sharing how I'm building my hustle from scratch. No filters, just the real journey. You don't need to actually like or subscribe. I'm not doing this for the clicks. But if you're leveling up from other creators you follow or know, introduce us. I want to learn from them too and help them level up. We all deserve better than just making rich people richer. Okay, I am way too old, have done way too much hustling over the last 25 years to ever think that my moat would be my code. I wish. Code is a commodity. Anyone with a credit card and a few weekends can copy features. And I've never believed in gatekeeping. I'm the exact opposite. I'm open source through and through. So I'm not going to try to keep everything secret thinking that would be how you protect me. Which begs the question, what is my real moat? Okay, I think it's the behavioral data. It's the data I collect by embedding my tools in every user's existing digital habits. I think a copycat could see similar data, but not for creators' audiences on those creators' platforms. Let me explain. Imagine that I'm a content creator and I have 10 million followers today. I have a rough sense of what they, as a group, do when they're browsing. If my content is nerdy or startup-y, I can assume my audience is nerdy or into startups, but I'm still in the dark. Now, let's say I get 5% of that audience to install the plugin, the super serious plugin. They get value by experiencing the web from my perspective. I get value because it deepens every follower's loyalty. And if I ever want to monetize that relationship, if I ever want to sell something, being given the permission to be in front of that audience, well, it prompts additional purchases and upsell, cross-sell, repeat order kind of thing. As that creator, I get value because I increase my followers' lifetime value. I turn them into a brand advocate who refers others to my business. That, by the way, is the classic definition of the best possible outcome of advertising to your existing clients. Except, it's with their permission. But what does this have to do with data moats? Once that creator's followers are using the creator's plugin, that creator starts getting aggregate data. Nothing specific about any one follower, but aggregate data from all their followers' digital habits, where they live digitally, what content that other people produce do they find interesting. It's a reverse Homer Bushes kind of thing. Nothing private or creepy, it's aggregate data, but it helps answer a really hard set of questions for the creators. What should I as a creator write about? What should I talk about? Forget fads. What would be meaningful to my specific audience that would grow my relevance to my audience? In other words, the creator's platform is now capturing the contextual behavioral data, not to sell to some creepy advertisers, but to help produce more engaging content. The platform answers questions like, what content are my followers consuming? What are they reacting to? What topics in their broader digital lives triggered the most engagement for them? And even what time of day are my followers most responsive, most engaged? Suddenly, I have a moat. The creator has a moat. My platform, the creator's platform, isn't just another curation tool. I'm building a goddamn feedback loop for creators. Every follower makes the creator smarter, makes their platform smarter. That actually explains why earlier this week, when we were talking monetizing and pricing, I was like, hey, it turns out creators love our little analytics dashboard. They never used the word data moat before in their lives, but that's why they love it. Competitors can copy those features, but they couldn't copy my creator's specific insights because every followership produces different data, different insights. And the more creators use the platform, the deeper the moat gets. The takeaway, your moat isn't the tech. It's the proprietary, evolving data set you build intentionally by being closer to your users and their users, closer than anyone else. If you're not collecting unique data, you could be hustling smarter.